Glastonbury in Somerset, England, known for its ancient medieval sites rich in myth and magic, which are often linked to the legends of King Arthur. Tourists flock to this market town every year, not only for the famous music festival held nearby, but also for the many alternative thinking events such as the well-established Glastonbury Symposium.
People know. Yes, what was used to be a physical experience like Betty Bunny Hill case in remote areas.
Medium and UFO researcher and writer Philip Kinsella presented his talk on the phenomena of alien abductions to a packed, enthusiastic audience.
For having me, and I hope that you've enjoyed the talk.
Afterwards, away from the crowds, we took Philip and his twin brother Ronald to the mysterious and strange world of witches, which themed the local bed and breakfast known as the Covenstead, full of occult memorabilia. This popular bed and breakfast amazes first-time visitors with its wonderful displays such as resident skeletons and stuffed animals. Around the large dining table, overlooked by a large beautiful barn owl, the Kinsella twins agreed to share their experiences. Hello, here we are today at the Covenstead Bed and Breakfast in Glastonbury, where I'm interviewing Ronnie and Philip Kinsella.
Hello, thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
So Philip, what are you doing here today in Glastonbury?
Well,
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I've just done a talk on UFOs at the Glastonbury Symposium, and I really look forward to that, and I think it went down very well. As you know, I've been studying UFOs and psychic phenomena for well over 30 years, and that's a passion of mine, a drive of mine to find the truth of not just the UFO phenomena, but also soul survival.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, also about the fact that you do children's books, I hear, both of you.
Yes, well, Ronnie's got a bigger hand in that than myself.
Contributes to artwork as well, Ronnie.
Yeah, that was done some years ago. Philip and I created some characters, ironically twins, but they bungled everything up. And we referred to them as the Rockbottom Twins, Google and Buff Kingsmillion. Ridiculous, but they build a robot that goes berserk. It's old stuff mixed in with modern times, you know, but that's how they started.
So I understand, was this the first book that you did the illustrations for? Or?
Yeah, the Rockbottom Twins was... I tell you what happened with that. Philip and I had come up with a character called Magnus the Micromut, a mechanical dog, and we tried everything with him. Everything, it all fell to pieces. An incident occurred where we were almost landed in court with him. Thankfully, that didn't happen. But I was away on holiday for a few weeks, and I asked for help. Basically, I just said, please help me. I've got no ideas. I just saw me and Philip, you know, living in a rambling old mansion and building this servant because we're too bone idle to make anything or do anything.
That's
not true, by the way.
That's not true.
But we decided, because we love robots, that we would develop this character they build to actually serve as a slave who would be shipped off to a mansion who was owned by an old biddy, a battle axe, and he would, without her knowing, do all the cleaning up and they'd get paid. But it backfired. So the idea for that was born when I was at my lowest ebb. So it's amazing how ideas come. So when you're at lowest ebb, there's always a salvation. Something comes along.
Always the inspiration.
Yeah,
because we had 20 years worth of rejection slips from publishers, and I think at that point we got to the stage where, we didn't know what we were doing wrong, or and then miraculously. When that was submitted to Pegasus Books and my other book, Reaching for the Divine, the spiritual book, they were both accepted one day apart from each other, which is like, I nearly was floored because I had a telephone call come through the next day after Reaching for the Divine had been taken from Ronnie to say the publishers have taken the children's book. Yes. So it was amazing how the synchronicities were there when we were, and then 20 years of trying, and then all of a sudden they were both bagged one day apart from each other.
It's interesting because the first one, the Rockbottom Twins, that was a 64-page treatment, the first draft, and Philip and I had come up with, and we decided to lengthen it, and we sent it to the publishers, and they said, "Can you lengthen it? And can you?" Because we sent some of our illustrations to them. They said, "Can you provide a few more?" And I thought, well, yes, we can. So we lengthened the story, and it went through quite a few edits, I'll admit. And then we supplied the illustrations, but they loved the illustrations, the black and white. Then they were black and white, Indian ink illustrations. The publisher, the head of it, the lovely David Newstead, he liked them, and he said, "Yes, we'll publish the book."
Excellent. So, obviously you've been doing it for some time. So, how would you say your artwork has progressed to what it is now?
Yes,
technology.
Technology has been absolutely wonderful. It's ironic because to begin with, I was absolutely against it. I myself called people cheats for using digital artwork and sculpting software, and I think a sense of irony there, I was proved absolutely wrong. It was a slap in the face, and I deserved it, because after doing Philip as well as an artist as well, he's illustrated these books as well as writing them. But I decided, I saw an image of a dinosaur done by someone on YouTube, and I investigated it, found out he used something called ZBrush or ZBrush. But it was expensive, and I didn't have the necessary equipment to start looking into this. So I got a loan out. Then I couldn't afford it. I got a loan out, and they asked what it was for, and I said, well, it's to expand on my art. No, I didn't say that because it was said no. I said it was for business purposes, and they allowed
it. That's kind of right, actually.
Yeah. And what I did was, for the next 2 years, when I bought this software, which cost about £1,000, the ZBrush alone, and the new system I have, the computer, then, which I couldn't afford. I could now, but not then. I started delving into work because when I saw the potential of the graphics, of the illustrations, of what can be accomplished, I was hooked. So I spent more or less every day trial and error. The first were crude, like anything, because like the treatment with the Rockbottom Twins, with Philip and I had composed, was crude. But after progressing and learning, they got better and better. So digital technology, I find, is fascinating, and it can be rewarding, but it's hard. Especially when you're as artists are very critical of their work, always have been, they always will be. Yeah. So it's basically just wonderful. But also I'm always critical of my art, but that, I suppose, I'm told, makes a good artist.
So Philip, I'd like to ask, what was the drive behind it all? How far back did this go into school days? Where did it start? What was the seed that came to fruition?
Well, the seed was that I think both of us have wanted to be authors and artists. Even when we were 4 or 5, we would bought paper, and it was like magic. We used to draw on these clouds of paper that the family had used to buy, and chip paper. The old chip paper? We used to make our little own books out of those, with the sun and the sea and a friendly shark and an airplane. And then it wasn't until we'd come back from South Africa, and we'd gone to a junior school, and a jumper cell, they had this book called Moomin's Midsummer Madness by Tove Jansson. And I remembered the teacher reading us this and being captivated by her art and her stories. And I remembered I found the book, and I think I tried to get 5p from my mum to buy it.
It was a jumble
cell. And I had that book until the pages fell apart. And there was always something deep in our souls, like most people, where we wanted to create, we wanted to explore these other universes, that we were interested in Doctor Who, 2000 AD comics, used to buy all the time, the robots in there. So we were robot crazy, time travel crazy, spaceship crazy. And of course, when we started to develop with our nurturing our gifts and crafts, a lot of the things that we dealt with have come into our life on a more stronger level, like the UFOs and the psychic phenomena. Because when we were kids, we believed we could time travel, and we believed that we could talk to bears.
I also think it's interesting, I'll add, there's another point behind this, of us creating alternative characters, is because, I'll be honest, in high school we were bullied. We had hardly any friends. So I think Philip and I, although we had each other, we invented friends. That was what we were doing. I don't know, I can't explain it. It's rather like life wasn't enough. You wanted more.
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, it didn't exist, but you wanted it to exist. So you created these rich people, these fantastical robots, these wonderful worlds. It was escapism, I think. That was what it was. Complete escapism.
And you know, I think when you're younger and you feel alienated and you feel bullied and you feel alone, I think it kind of, as you get older, instead of setting you apart, it can become your greatest asset. Would you agree?
Yes,
and you've got that special connection, of course, being twins as well.
Yes, well, we were always in the weed gang. And, we're not intellectuals, but, in school, unfortunately, you had different class systems there. So I remembered when we were both made prefects, when I was going up to get my badge, it was like receiving the knighthood. I remember looking down at those people that bullied us, thinking, now you can't touch me.
I like that.
Yeah.
We both were prefects.
Yeah.
Philip, you're a medium, I understand. So how can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, I never intended, there was no intent from my end to be a medium. All I know is that when a grandfather of mine died, on my stepfather's side, that really affected me. We were very young, and no one spoke about death or about losing someone. And I think at that moment I started to question our place here. I wanted to find out whether or not this really was the beginning, middle and end, and then we were no more. And there was a part of me, a deep part of me, that at that time was searching into the mysteries of our planet that no one else then was talking about. I mean, you had your authors and researchers, but it was not highlighted as much as it is today, with all of its controversy. I wanted to find out whether or not there was any reality to the subject of life after death. And I remembered sometimes I would go to bed shocked that I would be no more. The thought of it used to, make me cold, thinking that I would extinguish. But I knew that later on in life that wasn't true, because more people died. And because of some other deaths later on in my life, especially my grandmother's, my maternal grandmother's, that led me then into this quest of finding those that have crossed over. And a friend of mine had appeared to me. I asked him, before he passed over with cancer, if he was able to show himself to me after he passed, and he did just that. And I did actually catalogue that in my book, Reaching for the Divine, about that encounter. So it has had an integral part in the books that we write, because I believe that with regards to the psychic phenomena and the UFO phenomena, which has been in my life a lot longer than the psychic realm, has connected together, or tried to connect some dots together for me to find out, are we dealing with UFOs as in terms of spaceships or interdimensional creatures or beings, and what about the soul survival part? And of course, when I'd seen a medium, and for the first time in my life, when my grandmother died, the same month and same year as the beloved Princess Diana, she told me that I would be a working medium, and that she knew about my interest in UFOs, and that my first book to be published would be a book on mediumship. And I said no, and she was absolutely correct. So that's where it's led me into, I can't let go now, because like anyone they feel that they want the truth, it draws you in. You have to. It's not because we're obsessed, it's because there is a part of you that says there is much more to us than simply flesh and blood creatures with a sell-by date. There is a much more to our existence, from birth to living to being cremated or buried, or however you pass. To my mind, that's ridiculous. There has to be another side to where we were before, and certainly afterwards. So that gives me hope. Not just for myself, but for all the millions and millions of other beautiful people on this planet that are their conscious beliefs are squashed or subjugated. You've got to believe this, you've got to believe that. I feel it's important for people to believe in what they want to believe in, as long as that belief doesn't harm or destroy other people or control them.
So, you have had a lot of very profound personal experiences.
Well, both Ronnie and I both have in our life. It's almost like, as I've said previously, that if there is some form of awakening, it's sometimes, and a lot of creative people also have this. So is it the creativity that opens it opens this up in us, or is it because it's opened up anyway and makes us creative? I have no answers.
The chicken or the egg situation.
That's correct. But I believe that people operate on different frequencies, vibrations, and that these other interdimensional entities or whatever are drawn to those vibrations. And, it's been proven in science that vibration, wave energy, affects physical mass.
Yes.
So, that is an area that I'm really exploring at the moment about creationalism and how sound waves or vibrations create reality. So, a lot of the researchers and authors and, that were once poo-pooed about these good vibrations, all this, there's a lot to be said for that. Yeah, definitely.
So, Ronnie, can you tell us what's on the agenda as far as the books are concerned now?
Yeah, I can. As you know, this art, I'm using digital technology, 3D art, to try and make the characters more realistic. I'm hoping that one day I will be able to produce a book with sort of like photographic images of certain characters, rather like a fantasy book, with dragons, or you always have the good, the bad and the ugly. You have the dominators and the ones that are dominated. So I'm always intrigued by the tug of war between different races. Philip and I are also doing a radio show called Twin Souls, and I'm using the artwork to try and enhance that as best I can. I think as an old manager who left a few years ago said a wonderful thing to Philip and myself. He was a lovely man, young manager we had. He said presentation is everything, and that is absolutely true. In order to make something attractive, it's got to look presentable, and it draws people in. It's not a gimmick to try and make money, but what it does do is it actually looks attractive and appealing to people, and if it does, you've done your job.
Yes.
Especially the illustrations, and also using them for perhaps book covers or any form of promotion. I can't do people yet perfectly, because I think with the art, they are ironically the most difficult things to produce for me personally.
You never say never, though.
No, I know, but with creatures you can get away with them because they don't exist. There's no comparison.
There's no comparison.
So you can get away with creatures.
Yeah.
I love monster and creature effects, and robots, of course.
Yeah, that sounds like you've got some exciting things planned.
Yes, and especially pushing the artwork. I'm never satisfied when I've done an image, when I've done it, and as I said, it's not cheating, because you have to start from a ball of clay. You have to pull and stretch. It's no different from plasticine. It's the way you actually portray it, how you actually bend it and shape it. My first attempts, as I said, were crude, but with time and patience, I hope to dear Lord that they look more realistic, because I love frightening people. I love frightening people.
You do,
if you can get a monster on there, I've never had a reaction from a kid who's looked at them yet to say, "Oh, that's terrifying." Like the Daleks when they first were introduced. Creature effects children you hear were hiding behind the chairs. I want children to do that, especially with the reptilians, as I'm working harder on them to try and get them right. I hope one day to get them looking like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas's wonderful effects.
Well, I'm sure it's going in that direction, because they look pretty menacing to me.
Thank you.
Ronnie and Philip, I want to say thank you ever so much for joining us today. It's been a real honour.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful.
Thank
you. And it's such a beautiful location as well. It's fantastic.
Magical.
Yeah, it's like Harry Potter.